They know how's it going. It's the Lazy Stone here, the host of the Swoop Clan channel, and here today we're going to be reacting to the Sundown Towns of America. Now, listen, if you don't know what a sundown town is, it's basically when you are black and you're at a town where there's a majority of white people, and they have all these signs that say, "Hey, we don't want no blacks here after sundown. If you are around here, you will be harassed and violently beaten." They will harass you to the ends of the earth until you're like at, well, not ends of the earth, but until you get out of their town and not come back. Basically, they're just stuck in the 1960s. And why would I say that right now in 2025? Well, that's because they still are currently doing these practices. There are neighborhoods out there that aren't really, appealing to the rest of America where they be doing this shit. So, we're going to look into this today. Now that I've explained to you what a sundown town is, if you are wondering where they are at nowadays, where to, stay away from, we'll probably look through this video. So, without any further ado, I do have Reese's with me, but she's on the bed. So, yeah, let's react to this.
On Wednesday the 5th of May in 2020.
Oh, my apologies. Be sure to subscribe to Mr. Story. I said Mystery Box. Be sure to subscribe to Mr. Storybox. He has a lot of good videos here about diversity and whatnot. So we'll look into his channel more often. So besides that, let's just go back to the video.
A 28-year-old man named Devonte Morgan had travelled up to the small town of Mount Shasta for a family birthday party, but after getting into a heated argument with his girlfriend that morning, Devonte would storm out of the motel, never to be seen or heard from again. He was reported missing 2 days later after he failed to return home, but police noticed a distinct lack of emotion in his girlfriend's voice, and they were left alarmed after finding out that Devonte's phone was broken, and therefore there was no way of tracking his whereabouts. However, after almost a week of investigating, the police were finally able to uncover some surveillance footage of Devonte from the day he disappeared, which showed him walking into a gas station alone. But despite conducting numerous searches of the area and knocking on every single door, no further leads would be uncovered, eventually leading the case to turn cold. And given the lack of witnesses, Devonte's family began to feel like...
That's because they're all in it. If you're talking to like people who are citizens and they probably heard something, they're all in on it. That's what sundown towns do. They have all these people that know that they've done something horrifically, disgustingly bad, and they won't tell anybody nothing. That's another fact about sundown towns. They will kill a black person, bury them, and they will all keep their lips shut. It's like the mafia, but in this case, it would be, hate crimes that are trying to be hidden underneath the town. So that's crazy.
Like something wasn't right with this town. According to them, definitely. Locals would be seen tearing down the missing person posters and showed no interest in helping the family find their loved locals.
All right, let's see here. Mount Shasta, and I think that's either California or I can't think of the state. Maybe Colorado, but yeah, or Carolina. Most likely Carolina. Yeah. So be sure to stay clear of that town. If you ever see that town ever in your life, make sure to keep your eye on the clock and make sure you are out of there ASAP. Because these niggas look like they be fucking around with the fuck around. You know what I mean? They be on that shit.
Would be seen tearing down the missing person posters and showed no interest in helping the family find their loved one. So at the time, it seemed like there was nowhere else to turn. However, around 2 months after his disappearance, a witness would finally come forward after bumping into Devonte's brother Anthony, who would reveal that he had seen the missing young man climbing into a white truck, and rumours began to spread that he had been taken to the Shasta River to be disposed of. But despite these bold claims, the local police were unable to find any evidence to back them up, so once again, the case would turn cold, with Devonte unfortunately remaining a missing person to this day. However, as disturbing as this story may seem, this is certainly not the first time a man has been lured out by a woman to a small town, shortly before disappearing, as demonstrated by this next case. On Thursday the 28th...
Damn, and they never found him. Yeah, that's what these sundown towns do, bro. If they don't see anything, if they're saying they didn't see anything suspicious happening, if somebody's screaming out for help, they know what happened. They just don't want to say anything. That's how disgusting these people are.
8th of December, a 28-year-old rapper from Oregon named Ticarius Ray was last seen driving his pickup truck through the town of Roseburg when he would mysteriously disappear.
Roseburg. dine, shop, and stay. Well, that's crazy given the fact that he get in there and then, he ended up missing. That's crazy.
2 days later, his white Dodge Durango was found abandoned on the side of a highway just outside of town, and was swiftly towed away by the police. However, after inspecting the vehicle, a cell phone was then discovered on the passenger seat that belonged to Ticarius, so unfortunately they were unable to get in touch with the young man and instead held on to the evidence. A week then went by with Ticarius still failing to inquire about his truck, but given his troubled history with the law, it was initially assumed by the police that he was purposely choosing not to get in touch. However, in an instant, everything would change when the Roseburg Police Department received a call from his family, claiming that they hadn't heard from or seen the 28-year-old in 10 days, and they were rightfully concerned for his safety. So, given these details, an official missing person report was then filed, and his image was plastered across the news and social media in the hopes that somebody would recognise his face. But unfortunately, after 8 months of searching, it would seem that Ticarius Ray is still nowhere to be found, with the most popular theory stating that he was lured out to Roseburg by his girlfriend, who had nefarious intentions. But unfortunately, this pattern of young black men being lured out to small towns just a few days before they go missing is something which has repeated itself multiple times across the Northwest. But unlike with these first 2 cases, it's not always a woman who does the luring. On Monday the 7th of August earlier this year, a 33-year-old musician from California named Corey Danieli would suddenly disappear after getting into a fight with one of his friends before supposedly storming off into the night, never to be seen again. To this day, his whereabouts are still unknown, but the Fresno Police Department, along with Corey's family, strongly believe that the missing man is likely deceased due to the suspicious circumstances that surround his case. And with key suspects like Zach Stiles, who was the last person to see Corey alive after inviting him out to the small town of Kerman, and has since mysteriously relocated to Hawaii, it's no surprise that they have come to this conclusion. However, despite the rising stack of evidence that seems to...
That sounds mighty suspicious. So you're telling me that you're a person of interest and you went all the way to Hawaii after that person got missing? That doesn't sound good.
Point in the direction of murder. After almost 1 year of investigation, the police are still yet to reveal what really happened to Corey Danieli that night, which has understandably left the public questioning whether there could be some kind of cover-up going on. Which unfortunately seems to be a recurring theme across these cases, as with many small towns you will usually find that they also possess a very small police department, meaning resources are almost always stretched, so with little evidence to...
Who are also white, they would not hire black cops. Although these, this film, what do you call them again? Stock footages out here, they're just showing you the black cops, the white cops. They do not have black cops. Sundown Towns will never have any black cops. They will just have white cops out here looking for black niggas just to kill them, and they'll just have them out here just supporting the cause, like helping out with the fucking kills. You know what I mean? Like they're just kill count at this point. That is crazy.
To go off, it's no surprise that many of these cases go unsolved. However, in some circumstances, there can be an abundance of suspicious evidence to go off, but somehow, the police still fail to find a conclusion, and in some cases, even refuse to admit the involvement of foul play.
No, see, as I said, they were in on it. They would be doing this shit 24/7. They would be finding a black person that'd be in the town. It's like finding fish, it's like you're fishing out for fucking black people. You're just finding them, harassing them, violently beating the shit out of them. It's what they live for. It's disgusting. It's really disgusting.
On the 9th of July in 2013, a 24-year-old model named Ryan Singleton was driving his car through the Mojave Desert on his way back to LA to see his friend after spending the day in Vegas, when his car would suddenly break down. A passing highway patrol officer noticed Ryan walking along the side of the road and offered to drive him to the nearby town of Baker to get further assistance, and upon arrival, he then called one of his friends for help and agreed to meet them at the rest stop. But in a strange twist of fate, once the friend arrived to pick him up, Ryan had mysteriously disappeared. A missing person report was filed the very next day, but there would be no real updates in the case until 2 months later, when his decomposing remains were finally discovered in the middle of the desert. Initially, it was assumed that this was just a tragic accident. However, when the coroner's report came back a few weeks later, it was soon revealed that Ryan's body was missing at least 6 of its organs. However, 10 years on, the local police still refused to believe that foul play was involved, leaving his family understandably furious and desperate for justice. Which, once again, is a very common theme shared across all of these stories as...
What the fuck? They have them out in the east side? Damn. I mean, it's not that much. Hold on, let's go back a little bit.
Desperate for justice. Which...
Yeah, look at all these cities. Look at all these people. They are all targeted by people who just don't fuck with black people at all. And it is most likely a hate crime. I mean, see, this is in Idaho. Shit. I mean, or is it Indiana? I don't know. But yeah, like, shit, man. Look at these places. Majority of them are at the west side. So that means that these people do not fuck with these black people at all. And this would happen out in areas where it's not very metro. It's not like a city that's, like popular. It's not even a city. It's like a fucking town out in the middle of nowhere where niggas are just white. They be like supporting local businesses. They don't even have like those big ass Walmarts. It'll probably be like 2 hours away or some shit. Man, being out there, yeah, get a gun. Try to even the odds out with these motherfuckers, because these bitch ass niggas, all they do is just go after fucking black niggas like me, and they want to, like, put us in a fucking, what I mean? Like, it's just crazy.
Once again, is a very common theme shared across all of these stories as families desperately hold on to the idea of closure. But unlike the other cases that I've mentioned so far, these men aren't always lured out to remote towns by people they know. On Thursday the 9th of May earlier this year, a 35-year-old father named Sean Riley was supposed to be on a remote work trip in the city of Kelso, Washington, when he would mysteriously disappear.
What the fuck is a Kelso? I've never... see, these are brand new fucking cities to me, man. Brand new fucking towns that I've never fucking heard of. Would I spend a day out there? Fuck no. Would I sleep over there? No. I would not do any of that shit unless I have a fucking gun on my fucking hip. Sleeping with it on my bed. But the door's locked. Somebody unlocked my door. Somebody going through the fucking windows. Big mistake. I will shoot first and ask question later. Fuck that.
A few days after arriving, he would accidentally call his wife Mary in the early hours of the morning, to which he could only hear muffled sounds for 3 minutes before eventually deciding to hang up the phone. However, concerned by the strange phone call, she immediately called him back in the hopes that he would pick up and explain the situation. But to her confusion, after answering the phone, Sean would continue to make muffled sounds before a voice could be heard clearly stating, "Go this way, go this way." Mary then hung up again after failing to get her husband's attention and called the hotel he was staying at to ask if they could conduct a wellness check at 3 a.m. But once again, she was left puzzled when the hotel staff confirmed that his hotel room was unlocked, and Sean was nowhere to be seen. So after her confusion quickly escalated to fear, Mary then called the local police to report the incident, and soon after accessing the security footage at the hotel, they discovered that Sean could be seen leaving the hotel alone, looking like he was in an extreme amount of distress. So in response to this troubling news, Mary and the rest of the family instinctively travelled all the way up from Long Beach, California, to look for Sean themselves and to help spread awareness of his case. However, after 1 week of searching, his body was eventually discovered in the Cowieman River near Manasco Drive, which was located just a short distance from the Comfort Inn hotel he was staying at, with many believing it wouldn't be long before the guilty suspect was found. But to everybody's surprise, after 3 months of investigating, the case still remains unsolved, leaving Sean's family heartbroken and confused, as they try to understand what could have happened to their loved one and why his killer has still not been found after all this time. Which is unfortunately the very same situation being experienced by a grieving father that still continues to hold on to the hope that his son will eventually return home. On Wednesday the 23rd of June in 2021, a 24-year-old geologist named Daniel Robinson was driving home from work through a desert in Arizona when he mysteriously disappeared. After failing to make it home that day, Daniel was eventually reported missing by his father David Robinson after the local police insisted that he wait 12 hours before officially making the claim. The investigation therefore started the next day, however they wouldn't find any evidence until almost 1 month later, when Daniel's car was finally discovered on a ranch 3 miles away, crashed and abandoned with the airbags deployed. Surprisingly, however, there was still no sign of Daniel, and after 3 years of searching, the police are still no closer to finding out what really happened to the 24-year-old geologist. Many theories have been discussed, but with this case being so tightly guarded by the Buckeye Police Department, Daniel's father fears we may never get to the bottom of this mystery, which has understandably led many to wonder if something more nefarious could be at play here. But with so many other cases possessing similar details, it's no surprise that connections have been drawn by the public, as demonstrated by this next case. On Friday the 5th of October in 2018, a 26-year-old TV producer named Terrence Woods was supposed to be filming a documentary out in the town of Grangeville when he would mysteriously vanish. According to witnesses, Terrence had been behaving extremely unusual that day, but nobody could have expected him to suddenly run off in the middle of a shoot as they watched him jump down a 15-foot cliff edge and disappear into the woods. Immediately after these events took place, members of the film crew chased after him, but they were unable to catch up, resulting in the young man ending up alone in the wilderness. But determined to make sure he was okay, the crew then reported him missing to the local police. However, by this time, the sun was beginning to go down, so the officers decided to conduct a search first thing in the morning. K9 units, helicopters, and infrared technology were utilised, and Terrence's family even flew across the country to aid in the search. But despite the huge efforts of everybody involved, the missing young man was never located, and so almost 6 years later he continues to remain a missing person. But in a similar vein to the family of Daniel Robinson, despite the ever-increasing time-lapse of Terrence's disappearance, his family continue to hold out hope that he will return, which is a sentiment that is also shared by the grieving family of this next victim. On Sunday the 22nd of October, a 46-year-old father of two named Rudy Tessimer was supposed to be off on a spiritual retreat in the town of Mercer in Wisconsin, when he would mysteriously disappear without a trace. He was reported missing soon after by his friends when they noticed his sudden absence from the group, but by then it was already too late, as it would appear that Rudy was nowhere to be found. Sightings of the 46-year-old would soon come in, with witnesses claiming to have seen a man matching his description walking around in bare feet in the Mercer area. But unfortunately, these leads would inevitably come up empty upon investigation, and to this day, Rudy continues to remain a missing person. However, given the concerning details that surround his case, many are starting to wonder if he could have been a victim of the racial inequality that still plagues the state of Wisconsin, especially given the town's affiliation with the famous racial hate group that I will refuse to name. But
yeah, I know what he's talking about. Alright, so he's talking about the Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan has been out there since, like, God knows how long. I mean, they've been founded by, like, the most disgusting, despicable people you could ever imagine. Like, these people were just racist to the core. They would try to, like, either harass them, to kick them out of town, like, obviously, these Sundown Towns, and they would just hunt them down for the spirit of it, just for the fuck of it. So, what I don't understand with these cases is the fact that, I mean, there are reported cases of this shit, alright? And the fact that they happen out in these towns, I'm just wondering, I'm skeptical. Are they just done by, like, people who actually hate black people, or is they done by, like, people who are in gangs? They probably be doing crazy shit and they're not white. I'm just wondering, because there's like 1,000 questions in my mind, because they're not explaining if the town had, like, people who were really, like, racist as shit going after black people who ever enter their town. Like, that's crazy.
But one thing that has come out of this case is the revelation that most modern-day sundown towns are not located in the Deep South, as you would guess, as nowadays you are much more likely to find areas of racial divide in the Midwest, with Wisconsin and Illinois climbing to the top of the list, a fact which can be perfectly illustrated by this next case.
I wish they had, like, some history, like a small paragraph of what the town was known for. It sounds like, and then if he could actually give us a description of the population of the skin colored, like the white people that be in there, how they behave around black people, that could be a good ass, like, you know, information that would be a good ass detail that would actually shed some light into, okay, yeah, maybe the white people actually did something here. Like, I really want to know how is it like living in these towns? How do they interact with black people? I really want to know.
Tuesday the 18th of September in 2018, a 40-year-old father named William Young was discovered hanging lifeless from a tree in the small city of Peru, Illinois, with the initial cause of death being ruled as self-inflicted by the local police. However, as the weeks went by...
Okay, like this case right here, yeah, definitely was white people. It was definitely the people in that town area that, whatever they did to this nigga, like, it's, bruh.
Details started to emerge surrounding William's death, including the fact that the police would refuse to let his family conduct a private autopsy of the body, threatening to cremate the remains if they didn't organise a swift burial. But to make matters worse, it was then leaked to the public that William's car had received damages on the passenger side, like it had been rammed by another vehicle. And his belongings were also scattered all over the place, as if...
Alright, so I'm sorry for pausing and talking around the video, but I'm just going to give y'all some knowledge here. Alright, so what these people do in these small ass towns, they're known for doing is stopping black Americans from leaving the town. And it's because they want to harass and give them brutality, violence, like, it's like they want to commit fully to the hate crime. So what they will do is they'll probably use one of them rusty ass pickup trucks and form up a unit to go after a person, a black person, especially if they're alone in a white town, by the way. And they would go after them. They'll hunt them down like fucking foxes out in the fucking woods, and they'll just hang that motherfucker. So that's what probably happened to William. He was being stalked, and they were just going hunting. It would have been a scary ass fucking night because there's just nothing but wood. It's a wooded area. There's a few buildings around. There's probably citizens are not really doing anything. They're just doing crazy shit just for the fuck of it. And the people who live in them fucking towns that have kids, they'll probably educate them. They'll probably indoctrinate them into like fucking killing black people, which is really fucked up. So that's the end product of what these sundown towns would do. They would teach these kids to do these violent things to black people all over and over again, to the point where they could always like cleanse their fucking town off of fucking black people, always using the same practices of hunting these black people down. So yeah, I just wanted to let y'all know this is one of the behaviors that they will do. And the fact that the police would not, they were like very hasty with the victim's family. They wouldn't tell them shit. They would just tell them, hey, bury your fucking son and let's drop the case because we're not doing anything after this. Your son got killed by somebody at random. It's anonymous. We don't know who he is, but however, we're trying to clean up the crime scene. We don't want anything to do with this. We do not want to continue this case further. Basically, that's what they're saying. That's their language. And yeah, again, like I said before, the fucking car that they hit, they hunted this motherfucker down. There is no, because cops make fucking police reports. They do not leave these cases out in the open and say, okay, the victim was killed, but there is no suspect. There is no person of interest. There is. They're just not saying it. Again, we already said it before in the beginning of the video. These people will keep their mouths shut and they will just keep hunting down the black people out here. That's what they do.
There had been some kind of struggle. But despite these incredibly suspicious details, no official investigation would ever take place, with the LaSalle Police Department remaining adamant that no foul play was involved. So
that makes no sense because his car got hit. You would have thought he would have at least called his family, friends, and tell them where he was at. You would have thought people would have helped him out while he was out in that town. Nope. They hunted him down like a fox. As I said, in the woods, they killed that motherfucker. And after that, they were trying to cover up the shit, but they didn't need to cover it up at all. The thing is, they don't need to do nothing because they're the professionals. You know what I mean? It's their town. They do whatever the fuck they want. And they don't give a fuck if it's a black person like him would be walking around and just, try to, live his life normally. But these motherfuckers are just looking at him like he's a piece of meat. Like he's ready to, like they're ready to like hunt him down and shit, like deers or some shit. Like it's very wild. It's crazy. It's scary.
Given the long list of questionable activity related to this case, alongside the fact that his body was found less than a mile away from where another body was discovered just a few years later, it's no surprise that
yes, that I'm tired. I'm so sorry for fucking pausing the video, but okay, I'm gonna let this
many are starting to wonder if these potential lynchings have been hidden from the public by the very same people that are hired to protect us. And just to further drive this point home, I will quickly run through the details of another case from Peru, which I'm sure many of you will be familiar with.
That's funny as fuck that they call it Peru, because that's like, a Spanish fucking country. It's crazy how they doing it up in fucking America and they're just calling it Peru. However, it's like I said before, it's very suspicious that they got these black people out here in the fucking towns where they hate black people. They have a bunch of white people and they're hunting down people and they're killing their asses. That is crazy that they're not saying anything after 2 cases of the same, and they are getting lynched out here. And they said nothing about it. That's crazy. Okay, let's continue.
On Tuesday, the 24th of August in 2021, a 25-year-old graduate student named Galani Day was on his way to Illinois State University for an important meeting with his professor. However, after arriving on campus in the early hours of the morning, he would make the extremely out-of-character decision to skip his meeting and instead drive over to a cannabis dispensary, which would be his last official sighting. The young man was quickly reported missing by his mother after she received a call from the university about his absence, but strangely, the police refused to act, given that Galani had only been missing for a few hours, so the official report wasn't made until the next day. But unfortunately, this decision would soon reveal itself to be a grave mistake, as Galani's car was eventually discovered around 60 miles away in the neighbouring city of Peru, and after searching the nearby river, his decomposing body was found.
Just look at all that shit, man. Look at all that wooded area, bro. Oh my god. I can't even imagine what that motherfucker went through, bro. I'm sorry, I shouldn't disrespect him. I can't imagine what this guy went through just going through that area.
An investigation into Galani's death was immediately conducted. However, despite the incredibly nefarious nature of this case, the police are still yet to apprehend the suspect, believing the most likely cause of death to be self-inflicted drowning. So not only does this case remain unsolved, but the police are refusing to believe that foul play is involved, which is a very unfortunate theme across many of these cases. On Sunday the 18th of December in 2022, a 19-year-old man named Kaden Black was supposed to be spending the morning at his father's house to help look after the dogs, as he did every Sunday. But strangely, after failing to show up that day, he would mysteriously disappear, and hasn't been seen since. After noticing that Kaden hadn't arrived, his father Maurice then called up their neighbour Chris Faust to ask if he had seen his son, as at the time Kaden had been staying with him temporarily. However, Chris would respond by claiming that Kaden was likely asleep upstairs, so not wanting to cause a fuss, Maurice simply accepted that his son wasn't coming and continued on with his day as normal. But once Tuesday rolled around, Chris realised that he hadn't physically seen Kaden since Saturday afternoon, so he quickly made the decision to call his mother, Cara, to ask if he had perhaps travelled over to her house without telling anyone. But to his surprise, Cara would state that she too hadn't seen Kaden, and had last spoken to him around 6 days prior. So at this point, with nowhere else to turn, Chris decided to call the local police department to officially report Kaden as missing. However, despite the immense efforts of the authorities, almost 2 years later, Kaden still remains a missing person to this day, with many people associating his disappearance with the fact that he had recently moved back to the town of Wrightsville, which is home to an incredibly small number of black residents. And this also seems to be the situation with this next victim, after he decided to head out to the town of Taylorsville for work, before mysteriously disappearing. On Saturday the 1st of October, almost 2 years ago, a 25-year-old man from Mississippi named Rasheem Carter would call his mother in a panic, claiming that he was being followed by a group of men in trucks, who were shouting racial slurs in his direction. So, fearing for her child's life, she immediately advised him to head over to the nearest police station to report the incident and to ask for a lift home. However, in response to his pleas, the Taylorsville Police Department claimed that they were not a taxi service, and that because his home was out of their jurisdiction, there was nothing they could do. So, with no other options, Rasheem then called a family friend to pick him up from a gas station in Taylorsville, to which she agreed. However, after arriving on the scene, Rasheem was mysteriously nowhere to be found, eventually leading his mother to file a missing persons report. But unfortunately, there would be no updates to the case until around a month later, when the skeletal remains of Rasheem Carter were found, with his head separated from his body. Despite the incredibly controversial details, however, to this day the case remains an open investigation, with the police strongly believing that nobody else was involved and that his death was nothing more than an accident.
How was that a fucking accident? How was that a fucking accident? Did he dismember himself? How the fuck did he... He ended up being found, buried, decayed for months. And you're telling me that when y'all didn't even try to push your efforts, which I'm not surprised, by the way, you're saying that after he literally said that he's scared for his life, people in pickup trucks, which I've said before 1,000 times, probably just once or a few times on this fucking video, I've said that this was the natural behavior of niggas who don't fuck with black people. They would shout racial slurs, they would be in groups, they would be in pickup trucks, they'll be hunting down these black people like they're sheep, like they're deers out in the fucking woods. And just so happens to be at an area where there's not a lot of black people, and they're in an area where they're just, they're stuck in a pool of sharks, basically. You're stuck in a pool of sharks and they're waiting to smell the blood or just go for the kill. And that's probably what they did. But what doesn't make no fucking sense about this case is that you're telling me that you found somebody without their head attached to their body. And you're saying that this is a fucking accident. How stupid do you think I fucking am? How stupid do you think these people are and the victim's family are for noticing that his body was mutilated and now y'all niggas don't know what happened to him? Okay. Alright, that makes sense.
So once again, we see a young black man disappearing in a small remote town before turning up deceased with little to no explanation available. so it's no wonder that many people have started to associate Taylorsville with racism, which is a label that has also been attached to this next town. On Wednesday the 2nd of November in 2022, a 17-year-old boy named Sion Carroll left his grandmother's house in Kenbridge, Virginia in the early hours of the morning to cool off after the pair had got into a small argument, but unfortunately, he was never seen alive again. Sion was reported missing the next day by his mother Tiffany Baker after he failed to return home and refused to answer his cell phone. So concerned for his well-being, the whole family headed out to Kenbridge to hand out flyers and look for the missing teenager. However, after 8 days of searching, they were mortified to find out that a police officer named Ben Barnes would miraculously stumble upon a gravesite in which he would discover the dismembered remains of Sion Carroll. But this already controversial case would take yet another shocking twist when it was revealed that Sion's cell phone was discovered next to the home of a registered sex offender, leading the public to believe that it wouldn't be long before—
Wow, big surprise. We in a small town, right? A black young kid who looks like he had a lot going on for his life. He probably wanted to go to college. He probably wanted to do something with his life. Gets hunted down by a sex offender who happens to be white, who happens to be a fucking creep, by the way. I'm comparing the two because I don't think there's anything to be compared to here, because one's a person who likes to rape people, all right, and the other is just a kid who's just living his life, having a loving family. His family looks like they were, you know, they were scared for his safety. And unfortunately, we have these disgusting ass niggas out here hunting black people down, youngins, for the fucking fun of it. That is some disgusting, abhorrent shit, bro. You telling me there's a nigga who is already listed as a sex offender, already arrested, already put in the fucking list, and we got a kid who didn't probably do that much crazy shit. I don't know his life story, but it looks like he has a caring family, so he looks like he's a respectable ass fucking kid. And then we got him getting killed by a fucking white nigga that likes to sexually abuse women, probably children. Okay, yeah.
Before the case was wrapped up. But to everyone's surprise, this suspect was quickly removed from the registry, with his identity remaining a secret to this day. And to make matters—
Nah, he's white. He's probably white. They're probably trying to look out for his ass because they're not trying to have a bad reputation out here. But they're already fucking it up. They're already fucking it up. I will never visit these fucking towns unless I see a good majority of black people in it. Fuck these people.
It is even worse. The police officer responsible for finding Sion's body would coincidentally decide to resign without explanation before disappearing into thin air. So, given the incredibly suspicious nature of this case, it is no surprise that Sion's family have continued to plead with the public for help, as it would certainly seem that something nefarious is going down in Kenbridge, Virginia. Now, just before I end the video, I wanted to take a brief moment to decompress and reflect on all the stories that featured on this video, as I can't stress enough just how concerning these patterns really are. I'm sure a few of you will be thinking that these cases are tragic and suspicious, but to align them all with Sundown Towns specifically might be a stretch. But as I mentioned at the start of this video, there is an underlying theme here which every single story possesses, which is that these men all disappeared from areas they were not native to. Devonte Morgan was visiting Mount Shasta for a family party. Tycharius Ray had moved across the country to Roseburg to be with his girlfriend. Corey Daniely was visiting a friend in Kerman. Ryan Singleton broke down in the remote desert town of Baker. Sean Riley had accepted a job up in Kelso. Daniel Robinson was working as a geologist in Buckeye. Terrence Woods had travelled to Grangeville to film a reality TV show. Rudy Tessimer had followed his friends out to Mercer. William Young was travelling through the town of Peru to visit his friend, with Galani Day also deciding to travel to Peru for the likely purpose of meeting a love interest. Kaden Black had recently moved back to Wrightsville before moving in with another family. Rasheem Carter was only out in Taylorsville for work purposes, and Sion Carroll had recently moved out to Kenbridge to stay out of trouble. So no matter how you choose to look at this, there is surely something concerning about the fact that so many young black men have disappeared under the same circumstances in very recent years. And to connect these cases to Sundown Towns specifically, keep in mind that every single place that these men disappeared from had a significant lack of diversity, with black residents being the smallest demographic across every single town. Now, I'm not saying that statistics alone prove that an area is racist, but given that so many of these cases are connected to areas that are—
Well, that sucks ass because they're not trying to be shown out as racist, but unfortunately, it sounds like they don't enjoy black people being there. So, unfortunately, that's what they're trying to paint themselves as. But at the same time, they're hiding it from the media. That's their problem. That's their situation. They're racist. and they don't want to show it to the public, because if they do, best believe that people will try their hardest to cancel every single one of these towns and say, hey, don't visit this town ever at all. Or better yet, they'll probably have all these black people coming in these fucking towns, and they'll just start fucking going crazy. And that's why these cases probably might not end up in the news. But people are trying to make sure that they make educational researches around that shit, so that way they don't find out that these towns are not black accepting, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, let's keep these researchers alive. You know what I mean? Just out of respect for all the black men who look successful as fuck. Geologists, are you fucking kidding me? People who have degrees, a future up ahead, and they're being targeted because they're different skin color. That's kind of fucked up to me, because they don't even look like, I mean, some of them do, but I'm not gonna say that they look like criminals, because I don't think they have any, like, they don't look like they have criminal records out here. I don't think they do. But if they do, then, you know, not everybody's perfect, but they look like they were about to be somebody great in the future. But unfortunately, it was cut short due to some racist ass niggas. And the fact that these towns don't want to be shown as a racist town, or they don't want to be, you know, shown in public, out in the world, that they're terrible places to be at. That just says something. So that's all I gotta say. That's my opinion. They just don't want to be outed as racist people. That's crazy. That's crazy to me.
Home to predominantly white residents. I think it would be dangerous to overlook this as a possibility. So if there's one message to take from this video, it would be to avoid these towns if you can, as regardless of how you feel towards the idea of Sundown Towns, the fact that these incredibly suspicious cases remain...
I don't see anything good about going to a town that nobody talks about, that nobody gives a fuck about, that nobody wants to go to at all. And if they're going to continue doing this disgusting ass fucking crimes and thinking that it's okay to kill somebody because of the color of the skin, and thinking that hate crimes should be legalized, because that seems to be the narrative for these fucking small ass towns that nobody gives a fuck about. That they're trying to push the narrative that it's okay to kill black people and get away with it. That's fucked up. That's really fucked up. I do not appreciate people out here living in the same world as we are, as black people are, and then we have to live in fear every fucking night because you don't like the color of my skin. That doesn't make no fucking sense. But okay. Yeah, of course. We should ignore the existence of these people. Alright? Fuck these people.
Remain unsolved after so many years should be reason enough to stay clear of them.
Yeah, so that's gonna be it. Again, this was from Mr. Storybox. And again, make sure to subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Link will be in the description below. I just wanted to talk to you guys and tell you my opinion about how I feel about these sundown towns still existing in our society. The fact that these guys want to go backwards and not progress to the future, which is fucked up. That they're trying to keep it pure. That they're trying to hunt down black people 24/7 just for the fucking sport of it, just for the thrill of the hunt, basically. So stay away from these people. Stay safe. If you're traveling, travel in packs. Get a rifle. Get a fucking rifle. Go to these towns. Make sure these motherfuckers know what's happening. Stay on guard 24/7. Get the fuck out. If you do not see black people there, please do not hesitate to leave, because these motherfuckers, they will have the upper hand if you take their kindness for granted. You know what I mean? Like, if you take their kindness for well, not granted, but you know what I mean. They're basically being too nice to the point where they want to come at you in a different way when it hits sundown. And that's why they call them Sundown Towns. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I'll see you guys later.